tuned in to the cold, hard truth. Cayman's #1 hard-hitting live podcast show, where we feature some straightforward conversations on political, social, and celebrity news and all things happening in the Cayman Islands and around the world. This show was created to give the people a voice and a means of being involved and informed without any filters. Sometimes it gets crazy, but we always keep it real. We bring you the tea, piping hot, so grab your favorite beverage and join the conversation via WhatsApp at 324-1612. Email tips@CaymanMarlRoad.com. Now, here's your host, Sandy Hill, broadcasting live from the beautiful Cayman Islands.
Important news for you.
Interesting news.
It's Blake and Aaron spilling the tea with Sandy.
Cayman's top news headlines of the day from CMR.
Good morning, Sandy.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
How are you? Top of the morning to you.
Good morning to you.
That's tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Tomorrow is St. Patty's Day.
Oh, my goodness.
You have to wear green tomorrow. I have to remember that. Yeah.
Green is one of those colors. It's kind of hard to find sometimes.
That is. I
I
struggle
have the
every
green
year.
tie gala on Friday night. I still haven't got my dress, and it's like fancy.
Every year I'm going to say I need to buy a St. Patty's Day, like a green shirt. So at least I have it once. I don't have one.
Yeah.
Years
I
and
feel
years.
like I did at one point.
Used to. I don't know where they are.
Someone stole mine.
Anyway, Sandy got some headlines for us this morning.
Yes, absolutely. The Department of Environmental Health is trying to assist in the collection of large vegetation waste. So if you've got a lot of it, maybe you do some home gardening or, still cleaning up from the storm last year. Some people are still doing that.
That is true.
Give them a call. They're getting it sorted out. By the way, I want to give a big shout out to the Department of Environmental Health because they were having some issues on Cayman Brac, which was brought to our attention. So the food inspector was out of commission because of COVID. So people are still very much struggling with COVID. I know we haven't been talking about it quite as much, but it's not that it's disappeared. It's just that, we have other pressing issues like a war.
I read something about that. That is,
Is that Mark? Is that the food inspector, Mark?
I didn't get his name, but I do know he's been out of commission. So food inspections have either been severely impacted, like they've been delayed. One person was sharing that they weren't being done. So I did speak to someone over at DEH yesterday, and they're going to send someone over from Grand Cayman to assist with the situation. So we've got a toddler, a 3-year-old, who's in need of some financial assistance. Apparently, she's suffering from severe complications related to COVID.
So I just got a text. This is what we were going right on air when this text came through. So she needs to get an air ambulance.
Yes.
Because this is it's $28,000 for this air ambulance, and so they're asking for donations. And the hospital in Florida have agreed to cover the cost of the surgery and waive the fee. So we just need to come together and help get her there.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
So local family 3-year-old.
It's
So she's
it's COVID complications.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they need to get her off this island as quickly as possible for emergency.
Does insurance
treatment.
cover any of that stuff? Like when you have insurance, does that
Depends on what insurance you
have. I would have thought that would be at least the most basic insurance would cover emergency situations like an air ambulance, but we don't really know what the particulars of their situation is. But it looks like there's probably no insurance in place.
Yeah, but it's Cayman ARC, the Act of Brand and Kindness, and so it's
okay. So if you're listening and you want to help out, you can reach out to the ARC.
It's Cayman's ARC.
They've got details. We actually posted it on our website as well. How to donate directly to the Butterfield bank account.
It's devastating. I can't believe what think about what the parents are going through.
If you make a direct deposit, just put Medevac in the description field so that they'll know what it's in relation to, because they do a lot of wonderful work helping other people as well.
Okay.
So please help if you can. It seems like a dire situation. So part of Elgin Avenue is going to be closed today. So, there's a lot of road works going on, which, by the way, I was so tickled pink yesterday to see that section up by Grand Harbor is finally done. They were doing all the markings and putting down the paint. It was very interesting. We actually stopped and got some footage of it. We'll share later on, but it was interesting to see how they actually do the paint, like the arrows and stuff. Have you ever wondered? Well, check out our Facebook page later. We're going to show you exactly how they do it. It's pretty cool.
It just looks complicated. The roundabout. The roundabout.
It's lots of traffic there because people are making it more complicated in their mind than it has to be. Yeah. I drove that way.
I think
this morning.
I was speaking to one of the field guys yesterday, and he said, all of our roads would be so much simpler, especially when you come into like 3 lanes, because now all of a sudden it's like, ooh, the Cayman Islands has a 3-lane highway. And he said if people would just decide where they're going before they get there.
The problem is what they do is they choose whatever lane looks like it's going the fastest, and then they dart in front of everybody else, which holds up traffic. So just get in a lane and it will flow. And stop stopping it at a roundabout. If there's no one coming, go.
Yes. So in this case, on Elgin Avenue, CUC is going to be doing some work in the area. So this is going to be between Claude Hill Road and the CNB roundabout. It's going to be closed tomorrow morning from 9:30 a.m. until 3:30, pretty much all day. So just be mindful of that, folks. Try to avoid that area.
I was also looking at because I drive down Linford Pearson every day. They've already cleared out the entire section.
They're moving fast.
As you go up to the
horse area,
around the horse area up to the Cricket Pitch stoplight.
Yeah.
That's 2 lanes.
They've been doing that. Yeah, they've. It's been a week now.
That was a huge hill.
It'll be amazing when
got rid of all that
when
dirt.
It's sorted.
Yeah.
And if you missed all the fun action yesterday, there's now the Calisthenics Park. I know we briefly mentioned it yesterday as well. It's officially opened at the public beach. It's fantastic. They had a little demonstration yesterday about what it is and what you can do. And obviously these are pro calisthenics athletes. But yeah, the kids were there. So they had kids from like primary up to high school who were interested in different things, and they were doing pretty good. There's one girl who did a pull up, and she held it for like 2 minutes, which that's pretty good.
Impressive. I think you're going to stop and a pull up, and
I'm not so sure that I could do that.
I
used to be able to do lots.
The governor even tried his hand at it. I'm
probably
not sure.
Do 5 right now.
Yeah.
The governor tried his hand at it. I'm not sure how long he lasted, but I know it wasn't 2 minutes. But
I saw your picture. I get it now. There's lots of there's bars there, like
it's
monkey bars
thing.
and things.
Yeah, you go around in a circuit.
Yeah. It's kind of intuitive because I saw other children who were playing at the adjacent playground who just came over and they started playing on it, and you could kind of see how they just wanted to it's like the monkey bars. They just wanted to play and maybe do a little flip or whatever. But of course, parents supervise your kids. And make sure that they're using it safely, because any exercise equipment for children should be supervised.
Yeah, they always had these around schools, or high schools maybe it was like middle schools in Idaho where I grew up, and we would always play on those, but not know how to use it.
Yeah, I hurt myself on monkey bars many times.
Yeah,
in the groin.
I know. I've got a 5-year-old, so trust me, I should know.
Surprised how they kids.
So today is
that's true.
Today they're celebrating World Social Work Day.
Eh?
Yeah. Okay.
Who is?
Who's telling us to be social at work?
The Ministry and Department of Children and Family Services is marking World Social Work Day.
Oh, social work day.
Social work, yes.
Not be social at work day.
No.
Social work day.
Social work day.
That is a huge, that's, that's a hard job. My sister does some stuff like that. And
yes. So they're acknowledging all the hard work of their social workers who really, like you say, do a lot on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
That is true.
It's just being social. And I was like, we talk to each other. Like, is that social enough? All right.
So fuel, just an FYI.
Yeah.
We've got some representatives from OfReg on the program today talking about fuel. So if you're interested in hearing that discussion, check us out, YouTube, Facebook, and you can always watch it later on if you want to enjoy music first thing in the morning.
Cool.
Today is also National Panda Day.
Pandas. Okay.
Mhm.
I mean, we have many of those here.
And it's National Artichoke Day.
I love artichokes.
No, I only love artichoke as a dip. I gotta tell you, it's
I
one of
agree
those.
with you.
What? No,
I agree with
I
Sandy.
will.
Right,
You steam the whole artichoke and then you dip it in your own little lemon sauce.
Nah, not a fan.
No.
No.
Not a fan.
And then you get to eat the whole heart yourself.
Yeah, I've been to people's houses where they, were, as a guest for dinner, they're like, "Yeah, we're having artichoke tonight." I'm like, "Is a dip?"
One final story, folks. Pension holiday has been extended for a final time. This is it.
Mm-hmm.
So Cabinet has done one more extension. You've got until June the 30th of 2022.
My birthday.
To not pay pensions for employees. And then after that, you better get back on it. And this is the final one. Don't ask for any more.
By the way, who makes artichokes for like guests that are coming over? Like, is that your go-to?
Stop.
Like, we're gonna have guests over for dinner. I got an idea.
Artichoke.
I got an idea.
Anti-artichoke.
Let's make artichokes.
I think that's when you don't like your guests very much.
Yeah.
What are you gonna? If I go to someone's house
That's
and
not
they're
like a
serving
mainstream
artichoke, no, you
item.
don't like eat the whole thing. It's like it's an appetizer, just like a dip at the beginning.
No, it was a main dish.
That's all you had was artichoke.
Oh, I don't remember exactly.
Vegans probably.
I don't remember. What is
You
your
see,
go?
the artichoke can be so overpowering that it just makes you forget everything else.
So if you were having guests over, dinner party, what's your go-to? Like, you're really good at this dish. Yeah, I think that's worthy of serving it to other people. What is that dish?
Oh, well, I mean, I always switch it up all the time, or we always
Tacos.
just fry. No, I don't do that. I'll make a production out of it, and it's
Mine has to be a side dish. So I do a very mean macaroni and cheese. Everybody loves macaroni and cheese.
nice.
There is a dessert as well, but I don't do the dessert that often. That's more like Christmas and special occasions.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the go-to dish is definitely mac and cheese, and everybody is like in the mac and cheese dish.
That's good. Yeah, my mother-in-law taught me how to do this. Either whipped spinach with feta in it, or like roasted med veg, just like a bunch of roasted veg with like Mediterranean sauce. It's really good. So I would say you. What do you do? Spaghetti?
I do lasagna.
Lasagna. That's what
I also make a mean meatloaf. I actually brought some meatloaf.
Okay, if someone serves me meatloaf, that would be like my you.
What?
Me, oh, I no. I'm like, what do you just get? No, the name is just too much for me. A loaf of meat. Yeah. I'm pretty good.
It's meatloaf.
I know. I brought my
I'd
rather
meatloaf
have
in
an
today.
artichoke.
Would you like to try
loaf.
Would you like to try my meatloaf?
I fast until 11.
Let's try my loaf of meat. It's actually tasty.
I'm sure it is. It's the idea of it.
We digress.
Meatloaf.
All right, one yeah. I'll try your meatloaf. I'll raise you and try your meatloaf. All right, one final breaking news incident that I've just received is apparently there was a structure fire overnight. Yes, in Turtle Crescent in West Bay. No injuries reported, but emergency services were on the scene after 4:00 this morning. So hopefully everybody's okay. No injuries.
That's right.
Wow.
But I'll have your meatloaf one day, Blake.
All right, sounds
Forgot
good.
your canned beets that I made.
Yes, when are you bringing the beets in?
They're in my fridge. I keep forgetting. I'll bring them tomorrow.
Sandy, have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Have a good one. Thanks, guys.
All
right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. How are you guys? Yeah. Oh, my macaroni and cheese is to die for. If you've not had it, you are missing out. Okay, I'm trying to make sense of a message here. All right, folks. Yes, let's talk. We've got guests coming on around 8:00. So let's have a little bit of open mic opportunity this morning. So good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm having a bagel. I actually dropped my bagel plate this morning and I broke it. It's one of my daughter's plates, one of her Mickey Mouse plastic plates, but it broke. I was like, oh no, I'm gonna have to explain this to her. She may not miss it, so maybe I won't say anything about it. But she misses the most odd things. There was a candy the other day. You know, she's not supposed to be having any sweets. And she claims that she wanted to give it to her friends. She's got some older friends. They're like in high school. She's like, oh, I want to give it to Lala. And I was like, okay. So she went somewhere and I was cleaning off the counter. I was like, I'm just going to throw this candy in the garbage. I can't even be bothered with the arguments that will come. Because between now and the time she sees Lala again, she'll ask me to eat it every single day. And I'm going to say no. And it's going to be this, you know. She'll probably try to sneak it. And I was just like, chuck it. So I threw it in the garbage. And of course, she ran home and she missed it right away. Where's the candy? Where's the candy bag? And I was like, I told a white lie. I said, I think Kevin ate it. I threw Kevin under the bus. So she's like, why? He didn't ask me. And I said, that's right, he didn't. Yeah. So the next day that Kevin came over, she's like, did you eat my candy? I was like, oh man, she's actually going to ask him that question. And of course he's like, did you throw me under the bus with the candy? And I was like, I said, maybe. I didn't exactly say he ate it. I said, maybe Kevin ate it. So now she's like, Kevin didn't eat the candy. What happened to it? Did you eat it? And I'm like, no, I didn't eat it. I don't want to tell her that I actually threw it away. But anyway. All right, folks. So good morning, Virtuous. Good morning, Marshall, Evelyn, Anne-Marie. Omeria is here. So good to see you. Sipping her tea. I'm sipping some coconut water. I haven't had any overnight oats this week at all. Can someone go get me some? It's a little bit challenging because I want to get them as they're freshly made, like in the morning. But of course, I've got the show in the morning. So unless I run after the show, grab them and run all the way back home in an Eastern district, it kind of doesn't make sense really. But then I got to buy a couple that will last me like throughout the week. So I haven't done that. So instead, I'm eating the most unhealthy breakfast in the world, which is a bagel. I guess it could be worse. Dave, good morning. Good morning, Larry, joining us from New York. Evelyn, how are you? Miss Morna's here. Miss Wee Wee, Diamond Princess. Can you please pin the account number for the live? The account number, the phone number, you mean? Let me scroll it. I have my guy. It's funny that you should say that because I actually have the graphic guy amending the more interesting, what do we call it? The overlay with the number. But there it is, 936-2626. Give us a call if you'd like. The phone is plugged in and ready to go. Hi, Louie, 29 degrees. In Detroit, how does it go from 29 to 65? That is a huge spread. A high of 65, but from 29? Jeez. Yornell says, please add this topic to your talk, abusive phone companies. We've endured 50 years of monopoly and doing what they please. In 2002, the ICTA law was passed for liberalization of the telecom market. It is 2022 and the service providers are still doing what they want. I had $34 on my prepay with one provider. I was on the road and need to make an urgent call. I got a recording saying my phone is deactivated. They claim that my $34 credit expired. What madness. How did it expire? I find that, I don't know about y'all, but I've never been able to do prepay because it's just, I don't know, like your credit disappears, like Yornell is saying. And a lot of times you don't even understand why. So, and when you got to make a phone call, listen, there's nothing worse than having to make a phone call and you have no credit. I think they have this thing now where you can borrow from like the phone companies and stuff, which to me is so weird. You can borrow credit from them. And then next time you top it up, it'll deduct it. So you're now message me, private message me. Let me see if I can help you, see what's going on. I've got contacts at both Digicel and Flow. They're the only ones who do cellular service. So let me see if I can help you out here. Strange. Um, what a mess. I try to mediate a lot of things kind of behind the scenes, Urinal, if I can. And you would be surprised how much stuff actually gets done. Yesterday, like I said, I was in talks with DEH trying to get some assistance on the BRAC, inquiring about food inspection. So, yeah. Emma, oh no, I don't think that's what was going on there. The two of them joke around quite a bit, so I'm sure they understand each other's jokes probably more than we do. Louis says, let's get rid of daylight savings time. Yeah, we don't have it here. But remember one time the previous government was actually thinking about implementing it, and I was like, why? Where's my do I have that one? Yeah, here we go. Hold on. Oh no, that's not the one that I wanted. There's another one that says why? Oh, I haven't programmed that one on the board yet. Yeah, I was like, this is what I would have been saying to them. Crickets. Buenos días, señor Alba. ¿Cómo estás? Estoy bien, gracias. John is here. Buenos días, John. Olivia. Richard. Good morning from Celine. Is she making some of her goodies? Carmelie and Bonnie joining us from East End. Mr. Paul. Louis says hot tea is necessary for the show. Yes. Speaking of which, I need to redo the intro for the show. We're inching closer to the 28th, which hopefully should be launch date for the on-air show. So this program will now be on 89.1 FM Bobo. So there's a couple like behind the scene things that we need to do. And I need to try to get my my intro redone to include all the Bobo tidbits. So super excited. Morning, Robert. Morning, Tommy. Marshall. So I think my Fitbit died on me in a weird kind of way. So I was on with support yesterday because I noticed that I just started wearing it again. And all of a sudden, I'm not getting any of my like sleep reports. And to be honest, that's the number one reason I wear my Fitbit is to kind of monitor how I'm sleeping, how poorly I'm sleeping, because I do not sleep well. And I know I don't sleep well. And so let me see if I can show you guys some of my sleep patterns. Oh, they're horrendous, actually. So yeah, so I was like, let me start wearing it again. I hadn't worn it in a while. And then I noticed that I wasn't getting any sleep results. I'm like, this is really weird. Why is it not telling me my sleep pattern? So I now see that Fitbit has some premium service that they want you to pay for. So I said, oh Lord, here we go. They want to now, what used to be free, they want to pay from, they want me to pay for it. So I messaged them. I got a hold of tech support. And I said, what gives, is this now a premium feature? And they're like, no, you can still get all your sleep details, blah, blah, blah. And I said, oh, well, I'm not getting any. And, I'm just like, I need to know what's going on. So I had to reset it and they're like, oh, it should be blinking on the underbelly of the watch. And I don't see it blinking. I think that's what it is because I notice it's also not telling me what my what my heartbeat is either. So it's doing steps and other stuff. It's tracking that stuff. But there's certain features. I think there's a sensor on the bottom. And it's not, that particular feature isn't working. So I might be in the market for a new Fitbit, unfortunately, because this one isn't. The most important thing for me is the sleep, and it's not recording any of that or my heartbeat. So, yeah. Louis says, was that Louis? This says get an Apple Watch. It does all of that. I'm an Apple person in the sense of a phone. So I have a phone, an Apple phone. I'm yes, I do Apple phones, but I don't know what it is about. Why is the Wi-Fi network? I'm not getting Wi-Fi in this phone. I think I need to restart this phone. I don't know what it is about Apple Watches, but I've never really been. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I think it's because I've always had a Fitbit, and I'm just kind of used to the Fitbit interface. That I've kind of stuck with that. But now that I'm in the market, I might as well compare the products and see how the Fitbit stacks up to the Apple Watch. Yeah, the Apple Watch, you can do much more and music and this and that and whatever. But sometimes you just want a watch to be, like for me, a Fitbit is a watch with some fitness features. So I'm using it for the fitness features. I want it to track my, what do we call it? My sleep, my steps, and it'll do exercise as well, which is good if I'm burning any calories. I love the silent alarm feature actually for the Fitbit. So if I'm sleeping, sometimes if I'm sleeping with my husband, I know I've got to wake up really, really early in the morning, but he doesn't necessarily have to. Instead of using my phone, which is going to make this loud noise, I'll do the Fitbit because it just buzzes you to wake up. And it's very, very effective. Trust me. Yes, we got to get some mugs sorted out. We've got our 5-year anniversary coming up in June. So it's going to be a big party. We're going to be taking the show on the road too for the anniversary. I feel like that's one of the things I'm going to do, start taking the show on the road. So I'm just going to pop up at like breakfast spots. So big shout out to Waffle Monkeys. We're definitely going to do Waffle Monkeys. And we're going to have the show on location. You guys can sit down and talk to me and, we can do the show. So Reina says, good morning. Reno from Turks and Caicos. Good morning. Joining us from TCI. Lovely. Yes, we got to include Bobo on that mug now. TCI, what is it like in TCI? By the way, big shout out to Kevin Watler. Did you guys catch the weather this morning? Kevin is doing both morning and evening weather reports. Hello. Is he not fantastic? I love Kevin. He's so awesome. So check out his weather reports. Misha's doing the evening news. She's really getting the hang of that now. So congratulations and well done, Misha. But yeah, 2 hours ago, Kevin put up the weather. So go check out. I don't even know what the weather is today. What's the weather report, Kevin? Tell us what's going on. But yeah, Kevin put it up and he's looking good. I see where 400 of you have already looked at the weather. So yep. Lovely. Nice. Okay. Thank you, Louis. Louis says with the Apple Watch, you don't have to pay for health functions. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely, if I'm in the market for a watch, I'll definitely have to look at what is out there. Because I've had this one now for at least a couple years. So you know what technology. As a matter of fact, when I was on with tech support, I said, this model is called the Versa. And I'm like, which model Versa do I have? And he's like, oh, you have the original Versa. And I'm like, there's already a Versa 2? He said, actually, there's a Versa 3. I said, oh, wow. Every year, it's like QuickBooks. QuickBooks is one of those companies that every year they're going to come up with a new version. 2022. By normally October, November of the current year, they have the next year's version out. And I don't necessarily go and buy a new version every single year if I don't really need it. So I look at the features and see what's been added. And I'm like, But QuickBooks kind of pulled a fast one on me last year. They now have an annual subscription. So a lot of companies are doing this. I don't know if you guys realize this or not, but a lot of companies are doing this where you have to pay for the service on an annual basis. So before you just bought the desktop version and you were good to go. Then they introduced an online version. I was like, nope, I'm not up for the online version. And then last year they switched it where the desktop version is now an annual subscription. So I'm just like, Lord have mercy. Really? I'm going to take a bite of my bagel. Oh my God. Y'all making fun of the NRA this morning. Oh, geez, peace. Y'all need to stop. Mm-mm. Wow. Mm-mm-mm. All right. That's interesting. I got to share it with you guys. There are things that do make you laugh. So, apparently Mac McDermott, whoever he is, decided that he saw a sign today for the NRA and he was going to make a little bit of fun of them. It is kind of funny though, because you have to laugh at yourself too, right? When you make mistakes, like when you make spelling mistakes and stuff, do you not laugh at yourself? You're like, oh my God, how stupid. How, I got that completely wrong. Yes, thank you, Daisy. Buenos dias. So John says, why bobo? It's a Spanish origins meaning stupid fool. Well, the Spanish people might think of it as that. That's what it might mean in Spanish. But for us, a bobo and a TD means something totally different. So I think it comes from the colloquial version of what it means in the Cayman Islands. Obviously, we're not a Spanish country, so, Okay, check this out. It says not parking related, but you can see the immense IQ needed to get a job at the NRA. Now, I don't like the comment. I think the sign is funny and he could have said something else, but he didn't have to make a comment about their IQ level because there's a lot of smart people at the NRA. But the sign, I know you can't really see it here. It says keep left. And then the arrow is pointing that way. And obviously you'd be keeping right, not left. So touche. The sign itself is funny, but I think the comment is a little bit mean because there are a lot of hardworking people over at the NRA, folks. They're not stupid. And obviously someone put up the sign. I'm guessing someone even ordered the sign and never really paid attention to the fact because of how we drive. That arrow is always pointing to the right, unless somebody changed the arrow, and I don't think on that sign that's what happened. But yeah, so it's keep right, not keep left. Good morning, Melanie. And how much are Apple Watches going for? I feel like they're overpriced, like most Apple products. I don't mind paying it for a phone. And I got to tell you why, because I don't necessarily upgrade phones every year anymore. But, yesterday I was out and about I have a new Apple 13. It's the Max Pro because I need the cameras. So it's more of a work expense than anything else. But I've been toying around with the idea. I want you guys to tell me what you think of getting another camera. So I have a Sony camera, which I was always a Canon person. And then Sony has really been making some strides. And I thought, when I started the podcast or whatever, I had my Canon, I think it's like an 80D. And then everybody in the world of like streaming is like, nope, Sony. So I was like, okay, let me go get the Sony A series. I got an A60 600, which isn't even the latest model, but I'm like, okay, let me get that one. And, and it's a phenomenal camera for taking photos. I really like taking photos with it. And then, I started using it for the show. So you guys noticed it immediately when I started using it for the show, because you're like, oh my God, the quality is so much better, Sandy, and da-da-da-da. It really is a good camera. So now it's mounted all the time here on the show. So I kind of feel like I need another camera. Like I've got lenses that are not being used because they're just they're not being used. So anyway, I've been toying around with the idea of getting another camera body to go with the lenses. And when I go to events like the calisthenic events and stuff like that, it would be great to be able to take some professional grade photos. But you guys tell me what you think. Go on the website and have a look at these photos, because I must tell you, This is just with my iPhone. And the quality of these are actually pretty good. You know, I don't think that necessarily I'm going to get a whole lot better, especially because they're for web. If I was blowing them up or printing them or whatever, maybe. But for web, even with the, oh, let me see if I can get in here and do the, where's the, oh gosh, where's the, did I not do this right? Hold on one second. This is supposed to be a photo collage. We can go through all the photos. I think I need to make an adjustment to this one. One second. It says photo vlog in the title, and that's what it should be. It shouldn't just be one photo. All right, hold on. I think I've saved it wrong. I'll make that correction real quick. So anyway, I want you guys to go through and have a look at the photos because, you know, it's really interesting, but I think the photos look pretty decent. So these smart cameras, the smartphones, the phones, because they're all smart in this day and age, are getting really good, even with their camera and video features. I mean, they can record in 4K. Nobody needs to record in 8K because that's like the whole thing now. If you're not making professional grade movies, you do not need 8K. So yes. So I think I need to click gallery and then update. Hold on one second. So anyway, the photos look really, really good. And I must say that I was looking at them yesterday going, I'm not so sure I need this other camera. You know, there's probably some instances where it would come in handy because there are certain events that a regular camera just isn't going to be what you need, low lights and that sort of thing. But like normal daylight, good sunshine in the middle of the day, middle of the afternoon, the quality of this is an iPhone, is really, really good. And now they do, I noticed that when I was setting up this iPhone and I started using the photo option, it asked like, what type of photos do you normally take? So it can kind of almost do color grading, like the technology is color grading the photos. And I thought, modern technology is so absolutely amazing. So our guests are going to be joining us here shortly. Oh, good. Here we go. So if you go through and you look at the photos, I mean, they all look really good. These are the kids. This is a calisthenic park, by the way. Lots of bars. And then they were doing this was kind of a dexterity exercise on this side, I feel like. So there's Cece. Big shout out to Cece, the governor, her coworker, this young man here. He was on the bar for, I think he had the record for the day, but obviously he wasn't competing with the kids. I feel like he was on the pull-up bar for over 3 minutes. There's Minister Andre. And of course, the governor was challenging Minister Andre, but Minister Andre, he didn't want to get his pink shirt messed up. So he's like, Governor, you go right ahead. And this young man here on the side, his name is Philip Schlossstein, and he's a German entrepreneur, and he's been living in the Cayman Islands. And this park, Philip has dedicated to, he's given government this park. So this was a public-private initiative with him approaching government and said, listen, I'm into fitness. Apparently as a gym. I hear the gym is off the chain. I want to go check it out. And, he said, this is an idea I have. I'd like to be able to do this. And he started with the one at Public Beach. But the idea is to put one in other areas as well. So I like that. I like, people who see a need for something, have an idea, and want to work in collaboration with the government to get it done. Why not? We need more of those people here because I feel like we get people who take, and not enough who contribute. So some of the community police officers from West Bay came out. Cece is part of that team, along with her superiors there on the left. Here's the premier. He was there. There's Jackie from DART. There's Dale Crichton. Dale, I feel like Dale is always behind the scenes. Like he's never really in the foreground. He's always kind of hiding. But can I tell you something? I really like Dale a lot. He's someone over the last couple of years that I've gotten to know. And first of all, I love his accent. He has this Caymanian drawl of an accent that is like, I'm like, you should do voiceovers. You should do professional voiceovers because His accent is just so authentic and so Caymanian, and he doesn't hide that, and it's just really refreshing. Um, so there's a few more with the officers. Here's some of the kids. They were hanging on for dear life. This little kid on the side, in the yellow shirt. Yeah, man, he was doing all right. He was holding his own. And it is hard, even when you're just using your body weight to exercise and to do these types of moves. Don't be fooled. I don't know if I could last 30 seconds in a pull-up bar right now. Because first of all, you're pulling up your weight. So if you're overweight, like some of us, you know what that means. Hello, fatty. That's me. Yeah. So I'm pulling up all that excess weight. Woo! But it helps to build your core. These are types of things that really help to build your core. So get out there with the kids. They've got the push-up bar. You can do all sorts of stuff on these. These two young ladies, very athletic. The one on the right, I think she may have set the record for the longest pull-up at 2 minutes. Very good job. But the young lady on the left was equally, giving her good competition. I think she lasted 1.5 minutes, I believe. Anyway, they were in competition with each other. So good, healthy competition. Don't forget the end of March. I think it's next week, actually. The primary, is it inter-primary? Kids are coming up, and they're going to be competing against each other. So this young lady on the right here, she's a former gymnast, and she was giving a presentation. And really, really, flexible and athletic. But listen, even after they were done, you could see that they had a good workout after they did their demonstration. They're like, okay, yes, we did it. So this stuff isn't easy. Here's a bit of a instruction sheet on the different things that you can do. So the turn bar fitness workout, you can do a pull-up bar. You've got the pole, so you can do deep squats. You can do chin-ups, knee raises, a full pull-up, what they call a muscle up. Yeah, that one you got to really be in shape for. And then you've got what is that one? Pistol squat. Sorry, I thought it said patrol squat. Pistol squat, which is a little bit different. That one is where you're doing it with one leg. Ooh, those are hard. Anybody ever did a pistol squat? I feel like Daisy. Where's Daisy? Daisy's probably looking at this going, "Ooh, I need to head to the beach right now and work out," because Daisy likes to work out. Daisy is in phenomenal shape. I feel like, especially for a woman of a particular age. And we have the hanging leg raises. Again, these things are challenging, and they are meant to build strength, endurance, and definitely really working on your core. So it's all about power, balance, endurance, mobility. So go check it out, folks. The kids had a fabulous time. Big shout out to the government department who arranged yesterday's ribbon cutting. This is they gave the demo, these three folks here. One is from the UK. The other one is from England. Look at the guns on these guys. Look at their little muscles. Not little, they're big muscles. They're not necessarily big guys, but definitely the biceps are, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. And there's a governor giving it his best shot. He did his best, which, hey, that was better than what I did yesterday. So, wonderful. It was a good event. That's when he let go. He's like, all right, I've had enough. Y'all are making me sweat out here. So everybody had a fantastic time. Yep. Beautiful. So go check out the park today, folks. Take the kids if you'd like. I'm sure they'll have a fantastic time. I noticed that one photo isn't loading. I'm going to fix that as well. Cece's having a good laugh. He's probably challenging Cece. Cece, you go do it. See if you can do 10 seconds. Health and fitness and wellness. The Minister of Health and Wellness was there as well. These are things that we have to commit to. So this is the gentleman whose idea this was, Mr. Philip Schlossstein. And I feel like, we could all do with a little bit more exercise and core strengthening, and teach your kids from young about the necessity for good habits, health and wellness, and just fitness and the whole 9 yards. Diet is 80% of the game, but being having a strong core, doing things like yoga, Pilates, if they enjoy running or gymnastics or even just dancing. There's so many ways that you can get your fitness on. They're super healthy. Will make you healthier. So yep, definitely check it out. And if you missed the demonstration, it's on Facebook of what they were up to. I must say it was very, very impressive. They had some impressive moves. So do go and check that out. Look at that. Look at that. Wow. That takes a lot of strength. Trust and believe. It might look easy, but that ain't easy. So they did a great job. All right, we are waiting on our guests. I do see one guest that's here, Mr. Duke. If you're ready, we're probably going to switch gears a little bit. The ugly truth says Caymanians work at the NRA, so there are those who prefer to make it look like it's outright incompetence throughout. Yeah, I don't think the comment was necessary. Like I said, the sign speaks for itself. And I'm pretty sure the NRA did not print the sign, but someone, I'm guessing they got it done in the US or something. And, they probably forgot what side of the road we drive on. So Carol says, beware for Apple Watches. You have to buy a different charger plug as the fit is different to iPhones and iPads. It was so annoyed when I got mine because I got home, couldn't charge it. Oh. Yeah, and now they don't really sell, they're putting less stuff in the boxes, Apple, even when you buy a phone. So that's interesting. Okay. So Louis says all of his pictures are done on a smart camera these days. Marshall says Dale is a nice, down-to-earth guy. He really is, and he's got a heart of gold. A lot of times, I feel like we don't celebrate our own, as much as we should. And sometimes they are silently walking amongst us and doing things and helping people, and they don't get acknowledged. So Jonathan, that's at the public beach. So right next to the child's playground, which I don't know how many of you go to the beach often. Good morning, Scott and Emma. But if you go to the beach, you'll notice that the parking is amazing. It's not enough because sometimes you go there and you can't find a parking spot. But remember when we had hardly any parking? It'd be parked in the road and, all this kind of stuff. Well, I know y'all love to cuss Papa Dart, Uncle Dart, but he did all that. He put in somewhat adequate parking. I think we could have had more parking, but on most days it's adequate. But, like public holidays and special events, it gets kind of busy. There's a children's playground. Even this calisthenics park, the guy was explaining to me the design of it. The padding is a special professional grade material that even if your kids are up on the high bar and they fall, they're going to get hurt. Don't get me wrong. But the material is made of an absorbent type of padding where they're not going to get hurt as badly as if it was some other material, which is really important. Like you've got to think about all these things when you look at the design of something like this. And you might not notice, I'm going to see if I can find a portion of the video where it's kind of obvious, but in the design of this, around the park itself is an actual track. Like you can just walk around it. So there's like an exterior, like circular line, the shape of the, the shape of the Calisthenics Park, and it's meant to be a track. Like you can just literally just walk around it to get exercise or run it or whatever. So let me just see. All right, so we do have the OfReg team who's going to be here talking with us this morning. So we'll go ahead and get them ready. So a lot of you have had questions lately, especially about OfReg and what it is that they do in light of the fuel component. So, you know, there's different aspects of OfReg. There's the ICTA component. They license like radio stations and stuff like that, as well as deal with telecom companies. And the fuel component is a much newer aspect of OfReg. So we're going to learn a little bit about what it is that they do. I think that a lot of the questions obviously have been fueled, pun intended, by the recent increase in fuel prices. And so let's have a chat with them this morning. So we're going to welcome, we'll give them one quick second here. All right, good morning. Can you hear us okay?
Good morning. Good morning. Yes, we can hear you clearly. Hopefully.
Okay, wonderful. I was just saying how you guys have a component of OfReg, that's the ICTA. So hopefully they're helping you get your IT needs sorted this morning. All right, so we've got Mr. Duke Munroe sitting on the left, our left, and he's the Executive Director of Fuels. And we also have Fuel Analyst, Dwayne Tucker, who's also joining us this morning. So good morning to both of you.
Good morning and thank you.
Good morning and thank you.
So you guys have been extremely topical lately. No fault of your own, I suppose, but everyone is talking about fuel and everybody wants to know what's going to happen to the fuel. As Jonathan says, speculating, you know, is it going to be up to $8.50 by the end of the year? Of course, we can't predict where it's going, given that right now it is being directly fueled by a war that none of us have any control over. But there's a lot of speculation last week going into this weekend that there would be some, you know, crazy increases. People are saying, oh, it's going to go up to over $8 an hour. I don't think that that's happened. I actually haven't looked at the fuel prices, to be honest, because I filled up already and I'm good for at least for a week and a half. So tell us what has happened in the last couple of weeks in terms of the fuel rates. Now, I know on your website, you do keep an actual track of, do you update that weekly? How often is your fuel pricing updated in the website? And then explain to us what is going on at the moment with the fuel situation.
All right. So the prices on the website are usually updated on a weekly basis.
Mm-hmm.
And we do our surveys on Tuesdays. And usually by Thursday, we'll have the reports online.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of the price swings, yes, of course, you know, in light of the war and other activities that's going on across the world right now, prices have increased. We've seen price increased significantly on the international market. I know it's very scary for the public, but in terms of what we're seeing on the international market, we have seen since the beginning of the year until March 8th, which is a significant date for us, where we see the highest price increases. We've seen increases in the levels of $2.03 for diesel, right? And for gasoline, we've seen up to $1.30. So that's over since the 1st of January until that date. Yes.
Wow. Now it's been a minute that we've seen prices increase like this. I think it's at a 13-year high around the world, including the US. So this is something that's impacting everyone. And ironically, you know, fuel and everything else has gone up because of the COVID situation as well. So this war in Ukraine and Russia has only sort of made the situation much worse. It's compounded everything.
Yeah.
So generally speaking, how are fuel prices set? Like when we as consumers look at the prices at the pump, how do the fuel companies, Rubus and Sol, how do they come up with that?
Okay. All right. I'll just jump in here. Thanks. So excuse me. So in terms of setting the prices come in imported at least once a month. As DT was saying, those prices come along with a number of documents which are required by law. So these documents are submitted to us under Section 10 of the Dangerous Substances Law, and that includes the price that they pay, the date it was loaded, the certificate of analysis, certificate of quality. So that is provided to us, and we review starting from that price. So that price, that invoice they will send to us will include their price, which is based on refinery prices, which from the various points which they purchase. That tacked on to that, we have the duty. There's a small port charge. Then there is the margins by the importers to determine the retail price, which then goes out to the retailers. The retailers stack on their margin, and that takes us to the pump price. That's really in a high level sort of cost bill.
Okay, well, thank you for that explanation, because I think a lot of us don't really get it. And of course, there is the so they're buying it in wholesale, but there is sort of this suspicion that sometimes there's gas in the tanks, literally, and they see things happening like the war in Ukraine. But our prices seem to creep up pretty quickly, and we're thinking, how much of a reserve are these wholesale fuel suppliers? How much of a reserve do they have on hand? And why does it seem to impact fuel, especially when it's going up? It never seems to happen when it's going down. But when there's an increase, the increase seems to happen extremely quickly. Can you explain kind of how that works? Like, do they have a month's worth of fuel in the event that something happens and we don't get a tanker here or whatever? What sort of local reserves do we have? And then why is it that based on that, do we not see price increases like a month out? Like there should be an equal amount of lead time on the price increases, but they seem to raise them relatively quickly.
Well, if we can start off, Sandra, if I can call you that, thanks. If I can start off, the recent increase is a classic case of the delay increases you will tend to see based on the question you ask as it relates to stock that is in the tank. Therein, you will see that also created a problem for us in that persons were saying, we haven't gotten a tanker, why the increase? So herein you're seeing the situation manifesting itself where the increase is as a result of the increase being passed on at a delayed time for various reasons, inventory stock they may have based on the inventory method they use. And that also is something that we agree we have to do a lot more work in terms of explaining that. So in terms of quantities, so it's a bit of a mixed bag because our companies have to maintain a reserve for CUC, primarily on the diesel side, and for motoring fuel, that product goes based on demand. Typically, we see between 4 to 6 weeks stock they have, but they're not going to wait until that product is out to replenish, to reorder new products. So product comes in once a month, so you can see on that 4-week sort of interval. But at any given time, we would expect, and particularly as we move into the hurricane season, that they're maintaining, as you correctly pointed out, they're maintaining adequate reserve should we be cut off for any particular length of time to ensure we don't run into a fuel outage situation. So it's that 4 to 6 week period you would expect to see, and sometimes more, sometimes less. But that's sort of the number we've looked at based on demand. In terms of increases, what we can say most assuredly is that price increase is based on the price that comes in to the island. So in cases where they blend that stock and change their cost of inventory right away, you will see that increase immediately. In cases where they wait until that batch, as you pointed out, is finished, then that increase is going to come when that batch is finished and the next one comes on board. I have to say, we have to discount, just for this conversation, the element of competition, because as you would agree, if you're selling mangoes, if you and I are selling mangoes and you manage to get a deep discount on your batch of mangoes at a particular time, I may have paid a higher price for my mangoes, but because of the market conditions, I may have to actually reduce my costs without getting new stock, to stay competitive. And the same happens in terms of increases. So you may find cases where there may be increases by one party as a result of the other party seeing an increased cost to sort of bring them in line. But that's more of a rarity than a norm. All of the price increases you will see from OfReg we have on record. To the extent we can share it, you will see it's tied to an increase of the import price, which is based on increases on the global market, which again we also have information to substantiate if needed. I should also caution at this point though that we still have some confidentiality provision which is prohibiting us from sharing that information. It is something that is being looked at because we want to, of course, improve pricing transparency.
So what you're saying is there's more than one factor then that can drive the cost of fuel, other than just, a war, for example, in Ukraine. There might be other things, transportation
Globally
costs and
and
so on.
locally, globally and locally,
Right,
yes.
right, exactly.
Yes,
Both global
I
and-
see. Okay. So, folks, I just want to remind you that OfReg has, again, this retail fuel price list on their website. I'm going to just share it with you guys here so that you can have a look. Check it out. It gives you an opportunity to compare prices in real time so that you can see exactly who has the cheapest price. This is done by the district, and then it's broken down by fuel station location and the name of the fuel station. And you can see pricing for all the different grades of fuel, from premium to regular, and of course, diesel as well. Have you found that this, since you guys have been keeping track of the pricing, that this has helped maintain a certain level of competitiveness in the market? Or do you have any idea how many people are actually utilizing your retail fuel price aspect of your website?
We haven't in recent times been tracking the website analytics to see the sort of traffic, but we are aware of persons. We believe it's a sizable number of persons, and persons have actually indicated an interest in us moving it to a more friendly, maybe an app of some sort where they can have it on their phone rather than having to make, I think it's 3 clicks to navigate to this page. So they can have it there readily available. And with that, we can build in certain features, as you talked about, collaborating with our ICT group, sorry, so that it can give you pop-ups on cheapest price, location, etc., so that persons have it a bit more handy in terms of having that information. But we do believe it's making a difference, and we also believe that some of the media outlets actually take this feed to actually do their price updates. We certainly aware that Radio Cayman does a job on it on I think weekly basis.
All right. Yeah, maybe share it on social media much more often, just to even remind people that it's there. But just having a quick look at it, I noticed, for example, for premium, more so than regular, but there is about a 1 cent difference in everybody's pricing. So everyone is coming in, the last time this was done, at $5.65. H&B 7 Mile is 2 cents more at $5.67. And then so is the Shed and Road location. But everybody else is pretty much, except Jack's and Northside, who's coming in a bit lower at $5.45. But by the time you spend the money driving to Northside, to save on gas, you would have spent it already. So maybe that's not a good idea if you don't live in Northside. If you're not already in Northside,
The benefit.
don't drive to Northside just to save 20 cents on the gallon, because then you probably would have spent it on the drive. Just maybe a little common sense. But yes, it's very interesting how close they are in pricing. Now, the other thing that concerns us is not just what we're going to pay when we go to, fill up our vehicles, but we also are going to be concerned about the cost of CUC, which of course they use fuel. And so we're getting hit at the tank, and then we're also getting hit once we see that CUC bill coming in our mailboxes or, through the email system. Any sort of controls as it relates to CUC? Does CUC actually mark up the fuel? I think they may have answered this question before, but maybe you can remind us. Do they do anything in terms of marking up of fuel pricing?
Thanks, Sandra. But I'm going to caveat my response to say that you will get a lot more details from our colleagues. But as one OfReg, we can provide you some basic information in that the fuel cost is a direct pass through, so that is not marked up. Whatever
Right.
is paid, that's what is reflected on the bills. So
Okay. And the question then becomes, what can we do to lower pricing? Is there anything that OfReg can do? Is there anything that your division of OfReg can do to help bring the prices down? Is there any additional regulation? Is there something that we're missing here that isn't being tapped into?
thanks again for that question. So to clarify, we don't regulate the price. We don't price control the pump as we would see in some other jurisdictions. Barbados, Bermuda, we mentioned previously in other form. What we do, we actively monitor to ensure what comes in is passed on proportionately. We do have a requirement under the Fuel Market Regulation Act, placing the obligation on us to ensure that prices locally accords with international price trends. So that's what we're focusing on at the current time. In terms of options to lower prices, those may be limited other than ensuring that the price that is paid is the most efficient price. The margins by the wholesalers, the margins by the retailers are the most efficient, the lowest possible margin that allows them to sustain themselves. So those are areas we are going to be looking at. It's often talked about the fuel taxes. I wish to reserve our comments on that because the taxes serve a purpose, and it's not as easy to just say lower the duties. As we know, it's an important revenue for government, but that's certainly a cabinet decision. But if we have identified areas and we believe it's an area that can be looked at, we would just put some recommendations through our board to cabinet. So those are the key areas. The margins in terms of efficient costing, wholesale, retail, and possibly looking at maybe some small change to duties. But again, I should be saying that to help to ease the price pressure at the pump, ease the price levels at the pumps.
Okay, folks. So at least we've got some clarification on the CUC position. They're just passing it along at whatever they get it for. Mr. Duke Munroe, joining us from OfReg, has also made mention of the fact that it's difficult to say, well, the solution is to have government, just do away with the duty, because that's an important source of revenue as well. Very, very difficult. He's being joined with Dwayne Tucker, who's a fuel analyst. What do you do as a fuel analyst, Dwayne? I'm kind of curious about your job title. What does that entail exactly? It sounds very exciting.
Yes, it is actually. It's a regulatory function. The focus is mainly rather than, as someone would think, on analyzing fuel and from a chemical perspective, it's a purely regulatory approach, right? What I do basically is to to ensure that the OfReg carries out its mandate in ensuring efficient and effective pricing of fuel prices. I also ensure that the prices are passed through based on the pure pricing in terms of right in terms of what it is on the international market.
Right.
We just ensure that it is as efficient as possible, and we also look at competition. We try to ensure competition is driven immensely in terms of competition in the fuel sector. We want to ensure that the entities compete at a very efficient level, right? And also we want to ensure that they comply with the regulatory laws that we put in place for them. So that's it in a nutshell. That we're focusing on our side.
I do believe Dwayne DT, as we call him, is being very, very modest, but yeah, it's quite a bit of a lift, and he's also been supporting us in the other functions, because we have this regulatory function, as he alluded to, and then we have a compliance, safety and compliance function. So Dwayne has been assisting us when we were literally out of staff in that area, but his core, as he said, it's really the economic regulatory function. You didn't mention the interacting with the regional entities, the share pricing, which is very, very, very useful, and consumer facing, consumer protection, complaints management is also something that he overviews. And when there are changes in the market, stations changing owners, the major players changing hands, those merger review also is something that falls under his portfolio.
Okay. We have some comments and questions from our listeners. So Emma says, why is it though that gas prices go up today overseas, the ship arrives tomorrow, and our prices increase immediately when that fuel should have been purchased before the price increase? I think that was kind of along the same lines of what we were discussing earlier. Anything you'd like to add to address Emma's concerns?
Thank you, Sandra. In this case, it would have been pure coincidence, right? Whereby it was based on the timing of fuel price changes on the global market due to, as we discussed before, geopolitical reasons, the war and so forth, right? And locally, it would have been the timing of which they shift their product layers, or when they decided to apply their weighted average accounting methods to determine the price. Yeah.
All right. Some of us are questioning the possibility of coincidence, but we know that as the fuel analyst, you're keeping a much closer eye on these things than we are. So you would know for sure. So Carol says, and they never seem to go down quickly. So that seems to always be the case as well. It increases immediately, but when there's a decrease, it seems to take a while for that to happen. Alv says, good morning, Ms. Sandra. I'm confused. Should the price increase come into effect for new shipment or not on current stock?
Should the price increase come into effect for a new shipment, not on current?
So in other words, again, maybe as you say, it's a timing situation, but over the weekend, a shipment of fuel actually came in, I believe. So that fuel that was coming in over the weekend would have been impacted by the price increase. But Alv is saying, fuel that's already here in the tanks and storage, that then gets distributed between the shipments coming in, the ocean freight. Isn't that already set? Isn't the price for that set once that hits the Cayman Islands? Like they've given you what they paid for it, what their markup is going to be based on shipping costs and everything else. Is that ever impacted by what is happening in the market, although it's already on island?
So just to walk you through the process, you could probably already alluded to that in earlier conversations, but just to make it clear, the fuel importers, they certainly have to report first of all their new prices, their new costs to us by way of providing documentations, import documentations, such as the bill of lading, the certificate of analysis, the invoices, and other documentations, which we would then use to determine what their price increases would more or less be. And then they will also have to provide us with the price increases within 48 hours of making that change. So we are certainly on top of how they change prices, and we are there along the way with them to ensure that they do not exceed what we're seeing on the international market. So in addition to that, as I mentioned before, in the cases where people are seeing vessels coming in and prices increases probably before the vessels arrive, it may have just been, and most cases are the situation where they have changed to another layer based on their accounting system.
The transparency point is really important. The transparency.
Right.
Yeah, no, we're just saying that the transparency point, I think, is key to helping to clarify the suspicions around the coincidences you mentioned, because it may be justified in that persons see prices in the news, because the other thing to note is that price increases draw a lot more attention, and price decreases you hardly see as much coverage globally in terms of price. So that generally alerts folks that, hey, a price increase is coming. And at the same time, locally, they look on OfReg's website or in the local media and see, well, prices are increasing. And so persons generally tie that, oh, that increase that's happening now is what's happening here. We can show the proof is there that the increase that was seen, and I use the last example because it's the most recent increase, because it's fresh in everyone's mind. We can trace that back to the increase we've seen. And Dwayne mentioned earlier that the trend year to date has been an increasing one. So there's a guarantee, with the exception of diesel, that at any point they would have purchased in January and February, there was an increase. And I think he also pointed out that we have not seen increases. One company didn't increase previously, and another didn't increase for the year until March.
Right, that's correct.
Right.
That's
So clearly, they would have seen that that this increase had to be based on either the January or February price increase. Hopefully that helps.
Okay. Well, we have some more questions and comments. Thank you, Mr. Al, for that. Jonathan says, the thieves will soon start sucking the gas right out of the tank in your car or your truck. So have you had any, I guess this would be more of a matter for the police, but have you seen, as fuel increases, do people start stealing fuel from vehicles? Is that a thing?
No, we haven't received.
Not yet.
Yeah,
No.
we haven't, and we hope not.
Yeah,
We would
exactly.
certainly
We're hoping
want to
that-
caution against that from a safety standpoint. Other than the ills of having such criminal activities, it will be largely unsafe also. So we take this opportunity to discourage people from doing that.
Interestingly enough, people, I think when they don't know how to respond to something, they will make a meme out of it. So I don't know if you guys saw these memes with people putting the Ring cameras on right above the fuel tank now that the prices are going up. So they're like, everybody needs to be watching the vehicles quite closely, especially the fuel tank. So it's kind of funny, but anyway, what can we do right now? I mean, it's just one of those things, unfortunately, until the situation gets under control. Jonathan is asking, where does the fuel come from? So someone had mentioned this the other day, and I don't know if this was factual or not, that the fuel that we get from Rubus and Sol actually comes from Venezuela. So they're wondering if that's the case, why would the situation in Ukraine be impacting us? But does it actually come from Venezuela?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
The fuel actually comes mainly from the United States, from the Gulf Coast, and also at times from the Caribbean, in Bahamas, St. Croix, and yeah.
And do you have any control over advising the wholesalers, so Rubus and Sol, where to acquire their fuel from? Is that something that you can do, or is that overstepping your regulatory remit?
That I would
be
certainly
overstepping.
certainly overstepping our regulatory remit. We do not have control of where they're buying fuel.
But it does not preclude us from actually engaging with them on those discussions. So if you're seeing a trend that purchasing out of alternative ports seems to be more favorable, but as we said earlier, they're also so closely linked that there's hardly going to be much of a difference in terms of price of alternative ports. But it's something that we will use as an engagement point when we have our frequent engagement, quarterly engagements, looking at trend of things and what's changing and what can be done to improve the situation here for consumers locally. It's something that we can suggest to them, I believe. So,
yes.
So that's interesting because people assume that because Venezuela makes it cheaper for their own people, which I mean, obviously they have a whole set of issues of their own, that they will be selling it in the market just as cheaply. But that actually, based on what you said, really isn't the case. So when they're selling it for export, they're marking it up so that they can make a pretty penny on it as well.
Well, the export price generally will be very close to what their refined price is going to be very close to what you may see off the U.S. Gulf Coast or alternative places around the region, because refined prices similar to crude price, they generally tend to stay within range of each other. Yeah. So, but the situation you explained is a perfect illustration that we see prices within Venezuela being dirt cheap, if I can use that term, because they manufacture it, and that's the approach, the system they use in terms of pricing goods generally. I saw someone mention the word communist. So that's why that is so cheap. We can shift focus to Trinidad, which is just next door to Venezuela. When they were actually operating the refinery there, prices were relatively cheap. Now that they're importing because the refinery there is not operating, we're seeing prices there locally moving a lot closer to prices around the region. So I think it's a good point you made.
All right. So, Jonathan, it's probably not going to be quite as easy solution as you think. But that's why it's really good for us to understand, how these things work, to dig a little bit deeper into some of the details. So Flashpoint says it sounds like there was a speculation involved in the pricing. Is there a whole lot of speculation? I know you sent out a press release last week saying that speculation wouldn't be permitted. So you're forcing them to use the same formula that they've always used on pricing their fuel?
Thank you very much for that. We want to take our time to respond to that because it really has been a sore point. And we're happy that even internally we were strongly challenged on that point in terms of speculation. As DT pointed out, and the general conversation, the questions you've been asking, what we are saying there is that anytime you see an increase locally, except for the rare cases where one company may shift in response to a competitive situation in the market, we talked about the mangoes, those rare cases where you may see shift. What we are saying via that press release is that the importers and the retailers cannot look across at Bahamas, Bermuda, Europe, Brussels, and say prices are going up. Here's an opportunity for us to benefit from increased margins. it's not going to be allowed because the wholesale price is based on the import cost that they would have seen. Retail price, albeit the retailers compete among themselves, they going back to the point where you highlighted on the website that all of the prices seem to be convergent, are similar, just about around the same. 568, I think the number was. Um, they they set that limit on the retail side, and then some of the retailers would compete, shave off a few cents. But oftentimes, the high price you see is really where their increases have come through. So it's a 20 cents on a 515, so it goes up to that 535, and then somebody may come down to 533, 530. We encourage it. We're trying to push that a lot more because we saw that previously. Again, in terms of the work DT did, sorry for diverting a bit, we've been seeing a lot of significant difference in terms of prices in the past. Then shortly after OfReg came into being, we saw prices started converging. We cautioned against it because it could have been anti-competitive in terms of encouraging all sites we want them to compete among themselves. We've seen a bit of a departure. Recently, we're seeing them coming together at the same price level. So we're going to push a lot in that regard. But back to the main point, the speculation we're referring to is that, and it ties into the same point you raised about the questions around coincidence. What we're saying is that the cost you see, so even if, as you mentioned, there is a shipment in today, if for any reason price increases today, and it won't, and again, we'd sound the alarm that even though our company's representative who may be listening, if for any reason they opt to increase the price today, it's not going to happen. We have to get those documentation and verify what the cost is for a current shipment. So if you were to see an increase today, it's not going to be based on that price, that product that just came in. Once they would have received this product, decide which method based on their inventory method they're going to use. If the guys who brought in today choose to blend it all up, come up with a new cost and change their price tomorrow, 2 days out, we can say assuredly that that increase is based on today's stock. It's not based on the importers or retailers just deciding it's time to hike because of pandemic, or it's time to hike because to purchase my next batch of fuel is going to cost me a few extra pennies. So in order to start building up my reserve, my cash reserve to purchase this higher batch, I'm going to increase. That is what we're saying. It's not going to be allowed. So we really want to stress that point. It is coincidence. The hard facts are there to support that the increases are based on actual costs. And we're happy to continue to talk about this and answer this from as many angles it's approached based on the information we have to bring that clarity.
All right. So Jonathan thinks that somebody's hiding something, but Mr. Munroe has just said that they are keeping an eye, Jonathan, on the situation very, very closely. So it's not speculation as you would think. That the local companies, both Sol and Rubus, have to provide them as retailers with certain information.
And we fear everyone.
Yes, and not everything they can necessarily share for, I suppose, competitive reasons. Sanya says, but they raised the gas price from last week and no new shipment. Just a damn wicked act, no regard for local consumers. Sanya, I know the question or your comment has come in after they've sort of addressed this. We're just catching up on some comments. Jonathan says, why are they getting the fuel from just one source? So going back to Jonathan's point, how easy is it to acquire fuel? I mean, it's not like going to the grocery store, I suppose, where you might have, 10 or 15 different options. It's not like shopping on Amazon. Does Amazon sell fuel, by the way? He sort of thinks that this is really easy. And this is why it's so important to have persons like yourselves on who are experts who can tell us how this actually works, because we think, how hard can it be to just get fuel? Well, you tell us, how hard is it for these companies to source fuel? I know you said sometimes they get it from other Caribbean markets, but mostly it's coming from the US. Listen, if the UK and if the European Union can say, right, we want to cut off Russia because of their bad behavior and war crimes now that they have undertaken in Ukraine, and they say that it's going to take them until the end of the year and we're only in March, surely that points to the position that it's not as easy to acquire fuel as the average consumer thinks. We think it's super easy, but it's probably just not that easy. If it's going to take entire groups and blocks of companies to be able to affect that sort of change. So, Mr. Duke and Dwayne, from your perspective, how easy do you think it is to source fuel?
Go ahead.
Well, from what we understand, it's certainly not an easy task. As we are aware, in the case of Sol and Ruby's, they purchase fuel for their regional market. So they will go to purchase fuel in bulk. I mean, Cayman would just be a drop in the bucket, really, to go to the refineries. So they would go to the refineries, various refineries, as I mentioned, usually in the U.S. Gulf Coast, and they would be sourcing fuel for a number of Caribbean countries. So I hope that answers the question.
All right. So Flashpoint says, I apologize for not being a fuel expert, but what you're saying is not providing the required pricing clarity. We need access to the information that you're saying is confidential. So what information, if Flashpoint can sort of confirm exactly what information he would like that you're saying is confidential, because you've given us the formula that you use. I think the only thing that you're not providing is the exact details of, what they're acquiring the fuel at and maybe exactly what their market percentage and so forth. But you've given us the formula, just not the numbers, pretty much.
And that is correct in terms of not being able to provide the information, which we have, as we discussed earlier, we recognize it will be helpful in terms of bringing the clarity that is needed unless we could show that in January X date, the price came in for company X and company Y at 10 cents more, but we didn't see an increase at the pump. And then in February, it came in at 15 cents more and aggregate 25 cents increase over the price it came in December. Retail prices didn't change. Whereas the company that blends all of the product together and have a new inventory cost could actually make that increase. Of course, it's not going to be by the same proportion, because I know there are members of the public out there that are aware that the blended cost will not mean that the price will jump up by this new cost. The cost will blend, and maybe that will convert. So an average of, let's say 12 cents. Let's just say the midpoint of that 10 plus 25 cents. So you'll see that 12 cents increase in their inventory cost, which then would allow them reasonably to increase their price by that 12 cents. So because we are unable to show that, when they do that in March, which they did in early March, to show that, hey, prices have gone up by 15, 12, some case 20, 26 cents based on those increasing costs. The only way some folks will actually agree to it, and we don't see it as a problem, is to show them that information. And when we show them that information, they can independently also go and verify with a number of public sources. There is EIA Platts subscription that we use. It's a paid subscription. It's an internationally recognized benchmark. I believe they may have some basic information, and then there are a number of other sites that pull information. We would caution in the use of some of those. There's a website, globalpetrolprices.com, which has information that they can also go on independently. It takes some amount of effort to see that, okay, what we've presented, but we acknowledge that we can't share that information at this time, which would be tremendously helpful it is something that is being looked at, and hopefully that will take the problem away, because it then shift the question maybe to another from another perspective. But we take that point, Jonathan. And if I may, also Sandra, to Jonathan, I know clearly see he's very active in terms of the questions clarity seeking, and the other persons, they can reach out to us through our consumer affair. They can reach out to us directly on these questions, and they're free to also come in and chat with us. But we are going to be utilizing this forum a lot more to disseminate information such as this.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Well, thank you so much for that response. We do have another question. This person says, can you ask your guests what is the process of verifying the accuracy and calibration of the pumps at the various stations? Should the pump inspection certificate be visible on the pump?
Excellent question. So that's for our fuels inspectorate function, and the process involves, by law, every meter has to be calibrated once within a 12-month period, every 12 months, every year. Of course, it runs from its 12-month anniversary. The calibration tolerance is very small, so it's 3 cubic inches. I wish I had something to sort of demonstrate that. The maximum allowable variation on the pump once it's calibrated, it's it's 3 cubic inches on every 5 gallons of fuel pump, whether diesel or gasoline. We use the same tolerance for both. So once every 12 months, a very small tolerance. As a matter of fact, the team would have been going to a much lower tolerance in recent times of 1 cubic inch. And you can imagine, I guess, cubic inch. I'm just trying to think of that in terms of tablespoons, maybe 2 or 3 tablespoons. That's the maximum, either over or under a meter is allowed to operate once it is calibrated. All meters from West Bay, Eastern, North Side, Cayman, Brac, Little Cayman are calibrated at least once annually by the department. Give and take, sometimes we may miss that exact 12-month point because of resource constraints, but they are calibrated, including vehicles meters on the mobile fuel equipment. They are also calibrated by the office. The visibility of the sticker point, there should be an orange sticker. We try to place it in a very easy to find location. Sometimes it's not that visible, because sometimes on the dispensers they have advertising and marketing materials on there. So we will continue to look at it. We are looking at having, again, a website, and we talked about having maybe a QR code system where persons can just independently verify. But at least if we can have something on the website that you can just quickly go to it. We don't want to create more work for members of the public to verify this. But there is a sticker. There will be a sticker. You may have to do some searching for it, but there is going to be a sticker in a very visible location on the dispenser to say the meter on the dispenser, pump, truck, etc. was calibrated.
And it also provides the date
Right.
of the calibration, so you can look at it.
Exactly. Right. Thanks. Yeah.
Okay, very good question. Thank you so much. So folks, we're going to go ahead and wrap up here shortly with our in-studio guests. We've got Giselle, who says, do we ask what the wholesale costs of the goods that supermarkets and Home Depot purchase query the cost of price of food items in stores? So she's asking when it comes to just being fair to all businesses, we're not asking those types of prices, those types of questions of other businesses. So why would you think that you could get that information about your fuel provider? It's a good and interesting question. Miss Morna says they not doing anything to drop the prices. They can keep their cars full anytime. I agree with Odell's comment. And Odell said earlier that they should not be reflecting these price changes on already purchased fuel. So apparently that seems to be coincidence and timing and other things that might have been impacting that price increase, not related to the current situation. Now, there's this concept of pricing, putting a cap on the price of fuel. Let's discuss this for a minute. What is the practicality of it would be a government decision, of course, not one for OfReg, but what is the practicality of government saying we're going to cap what you're going to pay at the fuel tanks?
I think you've captured it very well, Sandra. That is a policy decision. Based on recommendations we can look at and make to cabinet. I really don't want to touch on this point, but it's necessary that from an economic regulatory standpoint, it's not the ideal arrangement, because you expect the market to really produce the best price. If it's failing, and that's a part of the assessment we did, if the market is failing, and one way you can know a market has failed from a regulatory standpoint is when there is a monopoly. When there is a duopoly, is we do have a third player that is a strong competitor. But where you have a monopoly, you can't expect that the market is really going to work itself in the most efficient way. So in that case, it's justified to immediately implement regulatory measures such as the price control that you talk about. In the fuel sector, again, such a decision will be a cabinet decision based on our recommendation that we've tried all of the various things that can work. They're all practical alternatives, and it's really not working to get this level of efficient pricing. And by efficient pricing, we mean the most efficient price to deliver. We know that they're using the right mix of resources to get product here. As persons or members of the public talk about going out, doing the best to get the best price. The cost, expenses, etc., are not inflated. A reasonable profit to sustain the business and shareholders' return, etc. And we decided, yes, this is the number. If we see that the price is always above that, no explanation, that would also be an indication that there is market failure because of higher than normal prices. So it's not an easy thing, but it is an option. We don't want to leave this conversation with making it sound that it's ruled out. It is an option. It's an option that is utilized in other jurisdiction, but we certainly need to get through the process of evaluating it thoroughly. And so, if I may permit me, to the question about seeing the cost currency, as was raised by a member of the public in terms of asking wholesalers and supermarkets in terms of their costs. We understand, OfReg fully understand the impact of this particular commodity on our lives, how it impacts inflation and other areas. So if there can be improved transparency, and I'm sure the companies will say we have nothing to hide, they're willing to demonstrate to the public we are doing our level best, then I don't see it will be a challenge. Even though, yes, reasonable thought is, why should we, when everybody else, supermarkets, are not being asked to produce, why should we? The socioeconomic impact on it, just how topical it is, we hardly get to some of the core functions we have because of fuel prices. So, and anything that can be done to really alleviate the concern, address queries, clarifications person may have, should be considered and should be welcomed with an open arm rather than being closeted about it. So, thanks.
All right, folks. CC says I'm going to need OfReg to visit CUC prices because fuel not a killer. CUC doing that just fine. Well, CC, in case you missed it earlier, OfReg did confirm what CUC has said to us previously, which is that they don't actually mark up the fuel. So whatever they pay for it, that cost is passed on to the consumer as the paid price. So they're not making money on the fuel factor. What happens with fuel is you do have the government duty that is, obviously being added onto your CUC bill. And quite interestingly enough, a lot of times I've really looked at my CUC bill and I've realized that it isn't even my usage, because my usage might have gone down, or my usage remains very, very consistent. It is the fuel, because of that duty that is tagged onto it, that is driving what my CUC bill actually is. So again, you can ask the government to do something about it, but what that in all likelihood is going to mean is that you're going to be paying for it in some other way. So all of these things have an amazing trickle down effect, and it's incredibly sad. All right, Mr. Duke and Mr. Dwayne, thank you very much. Giselle, I don't know if you know this question, good men, but she wants to know, how much duty does government actually charge per gallon on fuel? So do we know what the duty bill amount is?
Absolutely. Gasoline is 75. It's interesting that the question came. 75 cents on the gallon. Diesel for non-CUC is 85 cents on the gallon.
Okay. I mean, it doesn't sound exorbitant. I mean, I don't know comparing it to what, I don't really know. But Miss Morna says, don't worry, there's someone bringing donkeys soon. You won't need gas, just water and grass. And she says that summer hasn't reached yet. So of course, I think we need to have CUC back on the program ahead of those summer months to talk about what you can do and what you can expect in terms of the increasing prices in the fuel factor, which will no doubt have a trickle down effect on your CUC bill. Mr. Duke and Mr. Dwayne, thank you so much for joining us on the program today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us. We look forward
Yes, it's
to
your first visit on the Cold Hard Truth, so don't be strangers. Any final thoughts on, as a country, perhaps, how we can address our growing, quite literally, concern about the fuel costs and how it impacts all of us?
Absolutely, Sandra. We certainly don't want to close without taking the opportunity to encourage fuel conservation, fuel consciousness, based on the price that we respond to these events. It's global. It's not just a local Cayman issue. It's global. We don't want to say it's akin to the pandemic. We want to stay far from that. But we certainly, as we have, just drawing that parallel, take measures to ensure that we are balancing. So we're demonstrating, we're taking responsibility for the situation we're faced with. OfReg is taking their role very seriously. We're sure government too is looking at it in terms of ways we can address this to impact the impact on consumers. So we really want to encourage a sense of awareness by all consumers, all stakeholders, in terms of how you utilize the fuel, how you use your energy in general, so that you have done your part to reduce the burden on yourself. Fuel, energy conservation, energy awareness, energy consciousness, I think is going to be very helpful in terms of helping us to cope and deal with the impacts, somewhat negative impacts of rising fuel costs.
Absolutely.
All right, folks. Dwayne, any parting words?
Just to echo Duke's comment, conservation is very important for us all to look at as a country, and we all have to play our individual part in ensuring that we conserve as much as we can where energy is concerned, fuel is concerned.
Mm-hmm. Final word. Cece says, "Hey Dwayne, I'm going to send you my CUC bill. We're friends, so you can cover it." I'm pretty sure he did not mention that as one of the mitigating options available to us as consumers to send him the bill. All right, thank you, gentlemen, very, very much for coming on the program today. Do have a good day, and I'm sure we'll be speaking to you again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay. All right, folks, that was OfReg for you. So yes, a lot of us are extremely concerned about where we're going with the fuel factor situation. So Listen, I have got someone who just sent me something for Florida. Oh, right. Okay, let me just show you guys this. This is on topic and related to our ongoing discussion. I do have to go to court today. I'm just trying to confirm if this trial is on. Let me just see here. Okay. Kirk Munroe, his attorney's doing closing arguments today. Let me just see if he wasn't. There was a little situation yesterday where someone wasn't feeling well, so let me just confirm if it's actually on. Good morning. Oops. I hate when people when they send you an email and everybody's copied in on it, and then when you do reply all, so you gotta. Let me just see. So if he isn't in court today, jury trial. We haven't been able to say much about it, but it should be wrapping up this week. Yeah, so if he isn't a jury trial, I don't have to run to court quite as quickly. But if he is on, I do want to get there in time today because it is closing arguments, and I want to hear what his lawyer has to say. So a viewer has shared the following with us from Florida. So let's just have a quick perusal of this. An error occurred. Let me just check the image type that they've sent. What is this? Format is currently unsupported. That's strange. Okay, let me try saving this again. So strangely enough, I won't let me. Strange. All right, so someone says, this is a story from California. California taxes gasoline at 51.1 cents per gallon, second only to Pennsylvania, according to the Federation of Tax Administrators. A planned tax increase is tied to inflation, which is surging. So last consumer, the tax increased from 50 and a half cents per gallon, so 50.5 cents per gallon, now up to 51.1 cents per gallon. So thank you for sharing that, because I do feel like a lot of times we are of the opinion that what's happening in the Cayman Islands is just very specific to us. And okay, I think I've got this saved. And that, we're the only ones going through it, and we're actually not aware of how the same things that our government uses, the same formulations, and in fact, even similar rates of taxation is really what is being used elsewhere in the world. So this one is Florida, it says federal, state, and local motor fuel tax rates for a gallon of motor fuel may vary by county. The maximum rate for gasoline is 55.2 cents per gallon, and the maximum rate for diesel is 56.2 cents per gallon. That's your tax. And so it has a breakdown here of exactly how that works. So the interesting thing about living in the United States of America is a lot of times you're paying multiple taxes, because you might be paying at the federal level, at the state level, and then if there is an additional local tax, you may also be paying that as well. So it's adding up to be 55.2 cents per gallon as a maximum for gas, and then diesel being more at 56.2 cents per gallon. Interesting, because I feel like, didn't he just say that we're actually paying less than that? So folks, for small jurisdiction, I know you guys really give our governments across the board hell. But I think you've got to keep things in perspective, especially knowing that there's a lot of stuff that we do not control, right? We don't have a choice. We don't have fuel that we can just say, oh, let's go to West Bay and pump out some fuel. So yes, Ms. Morna, we definitely need to have them on to talk about. Remember, we needed to do a house audit. I think Siobhan had volunteered to do a house audit for her CUC bill and some other things. So we most definitely need to get on it, right? So thank you, Ms. Morna, for that reminder. I'm going to send somebody a message right now. See what we can do. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. And Democratic leaders reluctant to halt California gas tax, this headline says, to set off, which is set to take effect in July. So, of course, countries and states and federal governments across the world and even in the U.S. are now having a look at what their response will be to already planned tax increases on fuel. So let's have a look at this video here to see exactly what they have to say. So just let me give you some audio.
When you go to the pump, there's a lot of pain there. Every county in our area dealing with those record high gas prices once again this morning.
The hit to our wallet, it comes as lawmakers debate the state and federal gas tax. Eyewitness News reporter Mark Robles is live in Pasadena with more. Mark.
Just when we thought gas prices could not get any higher, here we go. We're getting mixed signals on whether or not we're going to see any relief anytime soon. Here at this gas station in Pasadena, things are looking up, as in the price, $4.99 a gallon for regular. So what's next? Are prices going up or down? Despite the governor wanting to stop a gas tax increase scheduled to take effect in July, some Democratic lawmakers in Sacramento are reluctant to pumping the brakes on the increase. It would generate $500 million, money that could help improve roads and bridges along with other needs in the state. Meantime, the White House and top Democratic leaders in Washington are beginning to consider a federal gas tax holiday, potentially pausing fees at the pump. That would amount to roughly 18 cents per gallon for the rest of the year, saving most drivers a few dollars each time they fill up. This all comes as every county in our area is seeing record high averages this morning. Take a look, ranging from $4.69 a gallon in Riverside County up to $4.78 a gallon in Los Angeles County. Again, that is on average for a gallon of regular. You buy premium and you'll find plenty of stations charging well over $5 a gallon. Now, regarding that federal gas tax being lifted, there is the debate whether it would create any meaningful relief. And some senior officials do fear that it would be very difficult to end this, since no politicians want to be seen as the one who raised prices.
All right, folks. So, folks, it's just one of those things where every place in the world is having the exact same issues. The politicians are in the line of fire. They don't want to take the political blame, although they've got a lot of difficult decisions to make. I think it really starts, folks, with educating you, the general public, and how these things work. And the better informed you are and the more educated you are, then obviously the more that you'll understand it. You might not like it. You might not always like what's happening, but I think if people are honest with you and explain why decisions are made the way that they're made, then we could all be in a much better position. I know everybody wants to be an expert. I'm no fuel expert here, folks. I have to take the lead from what the fuel experts are telling us and what they are saying. So, I think that once we recognize that this is an issue all over the world, then we are in a much better position to probably appreciate the difficulties that we're all facing. Really, really quite an interesting situation. So Jonathan says, the next time that I go on a date and the girl wants to go in an somewhere expensive, I'm going to pull up to the gas station. Oh, Jonathan, what are we going to do with you? Richard says, I'm interested in finding out how often the average Caymanian has to fill up their vehicle per week when you think of the limited amount of miles one has to drive in Cayman compared to other countries. Well, Richard, thank God for that. I was saying that I should probably gauge it a little bit better, but I think I only fill up maybe a week and a half because I don't really go that many places. It's like work and home kind of thing. So I suppose some people might do more leisurely driving. They go out to East End on weekends or they're driving all over. I'm not necessarily that person most of the time. So it's a good question. It's a very good question. And I think maybe we could do a little poll and find out. We need to update the poll on our website. I noticed that poll has been there forever. So I'll do that today. Maybe that'll be our poll question. Jonathan says, I know a fuel card is going to be the perfect Valentine's Day gift this year. Jonathan, I don't know what girls you're dating, but I'm kind of feeling sorry for them now because it sounds like they're only going to get gas-related presents from you, which is not a romantic date or a romantic Valentine's Day. But maybe that's why it's time to settle down, Jonathan. You don't have to worry about it. Irvlin says, my car takes $100 per week, sadly. Wow. See, this is where now those of us who drive SUVs, which I have a smaller one, I feel like it's a hybrid SUV, but I guess technically it's considered an SUV. You want cars that are extremely fuel efficient, which newer cars are. And there's certainly an argument to be made for that. It doesn't cost me $100 to fill up yet. Knock on wood. Thank the Lord. But yeah, and I don't feel like I do a whole lot of driving, like I said. So yeah, start walking more as well. That's the other thing, because there are times when we jump in our car just because we're lazy and it's like a convenience factor. But, trying to find parking in Cayman is such a pain in the rear that if you can kind of park in one location and then do more walking, it's good for your health, your heart health, exercise you're getting in. And plus now the fuel tank will be thanking you. So, yeah, we need some other alternatives to having to jump in our vehicles and drive every single time. Okay. All right, folks, I think we can go ahead and safely end the show there. And I'll let you guys know, like I said, what happens in court today. I should get notification here shortly. That's the trial at the moment that we're keeping an eye on for you guys. I did see some additional stuff come in. Oh, yes. I've just got a response. Okay. So, so the trial resumes this morning. So I will be there. I need to go get ready, get my court clothes on. I got to be careful with my shirts. I need to do some clothes shopping because if I wear certain shirts, they're like, oh, you don't have enough shoulder space. And I got to be pulling down the shoulder. And I'm like, listen, one guy really kind of annoyed me the other day because I'd worn this outfit like a million times to court. And all of a sudden he's like, no, the shoulders need to come down more. And I was like, really? Are you kidding me? And he's like, nope, you have to go get a shawl from the security guards. I was just like, you know how many times I've worn this outfit to court and no one has ever said anything? Like, I don't mind the rules. I don't mind following the rules, but consistency so that you know what to expect is really, really important. So, Gabby says, my car takes $70 to fill up. I'm considering getting a scooter. Trust me. The only thing with a scooter for me is you have no place to put your stuff. So if you're like me and you always carry camera equipment, bags, a scooter's not practical. And I'm a little bit afraid of driving a scooter in the Cayman Islands because y'all are some horrible drivers. You're more likely to lick down scooter, motorcycle riders and bicycle riders and pedestrians than anything else. So I feel that a car offers some protection. Plus, I would never pick up my daughter in a scooter. Oh my God. Woo, talk about crazy times. Anyway, folks, let me head to court. You guys have a beautiful day. Please be safe today and conserve wherever you can. Like, listen, you might have no control over the price of fuel, but one area where we have a lot of control over is our diet. And, a lot of us, eat out a lot and we waste a lot of money in food and drinks and the cappuccinos and the latte-chinos and whatever else it is that we're drinking. there are other ways in which you can save money. I know it's tough because those are the little pleasures in life that give you a little smile on your face and make you feel all warm and fuzzy in the inside. But something's got to give when times are tight. School fees, by the way, are going up as well. So tomorrow I want to talk to you guys about a local organization that has their job advertised overseas. You're going to be surprised to hear who it is. And it actually says, ooh, foreigners wanting to work in the Cayman Islands kind of headline. It's like, what? Benji says donkey and carriage time. Solar scooter now, says Moya. House power. Oh my goodness, you guys are coming up with some ideas. So we're being forced to be put on a diet because of the price of food. Well, for most of us, Jonathan, honestly, that might not be a bad idea. And might I remind you that you can actually enjoy home gardening. You know what? What day is tomorrow? Tomorrow's Thursday. Oh no, I think we're going to get some confirmation. We might have the MS Foundation folks on tomorrow. So I tell you what, not tomorrow, but on Friday, let's maybe we'll do the show from outside, from in the garden. I'll have my cup of coffee out there. We'll do part of the show on Friday from the garden because I want to show y'all with a little bit of knowledge what you can do. And I'm not taking any credit for the gardening because that's all on Marlon, but I want to show you his outside garden because you guys would be surprised what you could be growing that could feed your family. So, like legit, for real. All right, Friday, we'll do the garden show on Friday. All right, folks. Please enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll bring you whatever is popping off. If we get a decision in that trial today, we'll certainly let you guys know as well. So keep it locked. You know where. Have a good one.
Thank you for tuning in to another edition of The Cold Hard Truth. Make sure to check Facebook for showtimes and more information and the latest news at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Subscribe to our IG and Facebook pages to get the latest happenings.